Hi, I'm Shawn Lynch. I'm joined by Shawn Jansen, and this is the Shawn and Shawn Show. Week 8 now. Week 8 of the season. Week 9 of the show. We're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty. The playoff pictures are starting to take shape, and we're still really starting to get a good feel for how the conferences are going to play out. Last week, some really interesting scores and some really exciting games went down.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way Merced took care of Pittman, the way Turlock and WAC went down to the wire. You got Los Banos winning in overtime at Patterson. Looks like we could have some nice final regular season games that mean something in the WAC and the Southern League.
Yeah, that's all we can pretty much ask for at this point in time. Speaking of the WAC, you headed down to Los Banos to talk to their head coach, Dustin Caropreso, after that big win. So we'll be getting to that. And before all that, here's the sights and sounds.
Bounce! 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 Hey, hey! Run it! Get upfield! Get upfield! Bounce! Bounce! Bounce!
All right, let's kick it off with looking at last week. Let's start with the game you were at, Turlock against WAC Colony, 48-47. WAC on the wrong end of that, coming down to the last, a 2-point conversion at the end. Just seemed like a wild game from start to finish, just all the offense and big plays.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how this was basically a playoff game for WAC, as one we felt they needed to have. And they went out and they played like they needed to have it. Very impressive comeback a couple times. They went down 21-7 to start the game, and then they're down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and with 6 minutes to go, and they give themselves a chance to win. Starts with Nathan Duran. He had a heck of a game. As soon as they had to go to the air because they fell behind, he missed the first quarter. He still passed for 248 yards after missing the first quarter. Poor guy was sick during the week, and so couldn't miss some practices and couldn't start the game. But he made up for lost time quickly. He had a big touchdown run to cut the lead to 1. WAC goes for the onside kick. They don't get it, but the defense gets the big stop when they needed it, and there weren't too many stops in that game, I can tell you that. They get the big stop when they need it. They start at their own 8-yard line with just under 2 minutes to play, and they march down the field. Duran finds Andre Sherman in the back of the end zone with 7 seconds left. They have the option of going for 2 for the win, or just kicking the field or the extra point and forcing overtime. Kevin Navarra didn't hesitate, left the offense out on the field. I felt it was the right call. There were some people in the crowd that were second guessing the decision. But if you looked at the WAC players down on the sideline, down on the field, every time there's a stoppage of play in the game in the fourth quarter, guys are rubbing each other's calves, trying to keep the cramps at bay. They were running out of bodies. They had as much momentum as they were going to get. They go for 2. A little curl play to Sherman in the corner. Unfortunately, Turlock got good penetration on it. I don't know if they blitzed. I didn't see if it was a lineman or a linebacker, but somebody flew through, got in Duran's face right away. He kind of had to circumvent his route on his rollout, and threw the timing off a little bit. Still had a chance. There's a linebacker draped all over Sherman. But it's unlikely you're going to get that call at that juncture of the game with the game on the line. So
Especially in Turlock.
Yes.
There were some funny tweets going on.
The famous Turlock flags came a-flying once again. It was pretty amazing, the disparity, especially in the second half. Well over 100 yards of penalties for Buhack versus 15 for Turlock in the second half. But heck of a fight by Buhack. The seniors step up. The ones you expect to be there came to play. Great game by Duran. Justin Stephanie, he goes for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. Andre Sherman scores 3 different ways, takes a kick return, runs one in, and catches the big touchdown at the end to give them the chance. So you got the performance you were looking for from your seniors.
It's fun. I'm following the game on Twitter as your updates, and then all of a sudden it's coming down to the end, and it's just silence, nothing coming from you. What happened at the end of the game?
Right as Andre Sherman was catching his touchdown pass, my camera died while I was taking video of it, so I didn't even get that video. And then I told Hobbs, the Buhack principal, that if he could tweet out the final score for me, because I knew I'd kept people in suspense. I went and plugged in my phone while I was writing the story in my car, and eventually I got the final score out there and explained how it all went down. But apologize to those that were kept in suspense for about 45 minutes.
It's got to be disappointing for Buhack Calling. We knew this is a game they probably had to get if they're going to make the playoffs. They got Merced this week. They're going to come in as an underdog. They're going to have to win their final 3 games to make the playoffs. But it's just strange to me seeing the Buhack Colony team that I saw about a month ago against Clovis North and against Pacheco. I thought that team would beat the Pittman team that I saw last week, 2 weeks ago, and then the Turlock team last week. So it's kind of disappointing to see the Thunder just not come up in these big games, and now their backs against the wall heading into their final 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it can't be encouraging after the performance that you saw.
Yeah, Merced coming out, just taking Pittman to the woodshed. I mean, 33-0, they jump out. The big thing was turnovers for Pittman. They come out and fumble the ball 3 times in the first quarter. And Tyrone Williams throws 5 touchdowns in the first half. Talk about a start to CCC play for him. He's thrown 9 touchdowns, just 1 interception, and he's also ran 1 in. He's kind of got that campaign going for CCC MVP all the way.
Imagine if he ever got to play in the second half.
Yeah. He throws 2 touchdowns to Nick Camper and 2 touchdowns to A.J. Stewart. Jabbar Bird broke off a 71-yard touchdown run in the second half. This one was over early, kind of like their game against Atwater. It looks like it's going to be Merced against Turlock on Halloween for the CCC title. Assuming both teams win this week, they'll both go in 3-0 at that week.
Yeah, I think they got a good solid chance of doing that. Buhack is unfortunately giving up a lot of big plays at this point in time, and like we said in that game, you can't turn the ball over against Merced. They'll put points on you in a hurry, and I mean they just continue to do it week after week. If you turn the ball over, they'll throw up 21 points all in a row like it's nothing, and they continue to look impressive. They definitely, I mean, we talked about it. The kids told us that they kind of kicked it up a notch, and we've both seen it now live the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, just their tempo and just the defenses are having a hard time getting set when Merced's getting ready to go. They're just going so fast, play to play, that defenses are having a hard time adjusting to that, and you're seeing that on the scoreboard. Atwater picks up a win. They beat Golden Valley 26-18. Kind of jumped out early here. Golden Valley kind of fought its way back, but the Falcons hold them off to improve to 1-1 the CCC.
They got their run game going. Nathaniel Gilmore and Michael Vargas ran hard for them, got a couple touchdowns. They built the 24-6 lead early and then just kind of held on from there.
Yeah, but it makes things interesting for Atwater, even though, I mean, they're 2-5 going in, but, you know, now it's just about league. They got some big games coming up against Turlock and Pittman. We'll see if they can make their way into some kind of playoff hunt. I mean, it's going to be tough going on the road against Turlock, but, you know, the opportunity is there.
Yeah, and Turlock's coming off a big victory that, you know, they could easily look past the Atwater team that struggled to this point. And Turlock's shown they're going to give up points.
Yeah.
Golden Valley struck for 29 on them. Buhack drops 47 on them last week. You know, so the opportunity is going to be there for Atwater. Their defense has been stingy and has kept them in games all year. If they can continue to get some momentum going with the offense, they could be in that game.
Looking at the Southern League, another big win for Gustine, going to Ripon Christian and picking up a win.
Yeah, Sebastian Figueroa, big 74-yard touchdown pass, and then he had a 78-yard touchdown run. And Gustine's defense, other than the LeGrand game, they really haven't been giving up points to anybody. So that sets up a big matchup for them this week. They get, they've been looking like Southern League contenders. Now they get their real opportunity to show it with traveling to Mariposa this week.
Yeah, and then one of the other great games from Friday night, Los Banos going to Patterson and upsetting the Tigers 47-41 in overtime.
David Walker comes up big. The kid does a little bit of everything. He had a long fumble return in this one and then a big punt return that I believe was the one that tied it up with less than a minute left and forced overtime.
Yeah, I was talking, like we said, I went to go talk to Dustin Caropreso. He was talking about the play, and they were just going all out on a punt block, trying to block the punt. So there really was nobody back blocking, but he kind of runs back there, and as he's picking up the ball, he actually dribbled it off the ground to bounce it up to himself, and then ran down the Los Banos sideline for the touchdown to tie it up. Pretty remarkable stuff them doing. Adam Herrera, 2 big runs from the touchdown from the quarterback position for Los Banos there. They do. Walker forced a fumble on the quarterback, and somebody else picked it up and scored for a touchdown. And he blocked was it a punt or a field goal?
The field goal block. He returned it. Yeah.
Yeah, he scooped and scored on that one too.
Yeah, and then shout out to Jordan Smith. He seals it in overtime with the interception.
So big win for the Tigers. Here's what Dustin Caropreso had to say about that game and the possible big showdown at the end of the year against Pacheco in the crosstown clash. All right, we're here with Los Banos coach Dustin Caropreso. Talk about how wild was last week's 47-41 win over Patterson.
It was pretty emotional and intense. The kids played their butts off all game long. A lot of big plays. You had Patterson with a couple kickoff returns. You had us with a couple punt blocks, a punt block and a PAT block, one scooped up for a touchdown. Quarterback, a couple big runs, and then the punt return at the end of the game with about 50 seconds left was the most amazing play that I think I've seen or been incorporated with since I've been coaching high school football.
Yeah, take me through that play.
Well, it was 4th and about 12. There was about a minute and 12 seconds left. I tell Rod Hill put punt block on, so we have no punt return. Ball's punted, ball's rolling, probably about the 35, maybe the 25-yard line, and David Walker picks it up, almost like a basketball bounce pass to himself, picks it up, and then runs down our sideline. And we had some critical blocks. I mean, one by Logan Pimentel, one by a kid by name Drew Sanchez that laid out 2 guys from Patterson, and then it was just smooth sailing to the end zone. And then being on our sideline and watching on film yesterday in the coaches meeting was, sends chills through everybody's, hair when you see, your kids on the sideline jumping up and down. And one of our kids was doing a high step on the side. That was just, the kid never shows emotion. So it was great for the kids, And then we still had to make the extra point, so it was big.
What was the atmosphere like after the interception that ended the game?
That was another thing. That was wild. I got my head down thinking what we're going to do if we don't get a stop on the next, the plays we're going to run going in, to the second overtime. And then I look up and see our guy jump up, and then I just look to our kids to see what's going on. And once I saw them jumping up and down, I was running around. I was telling a couple guys, I was running around like Jim Valvano when NC State won the national championship, trying to find someone to hug. And, it was just wild. I mean, it was something, like I said, that I've never experienced. Losing the 4 overtime game to Escalon was big, but pulling this one out on a game that no one really expected us to win other than ourselves, coaching staff, as well as our kids.
Talk about going into the game. You guys, not a lot of people were giving you a chance to win this game with
right.
the record that Patterson had. How much did you guys play up the underdog role going in?
We used the underdog role to our advantage throughout the whole year. A lot of people never believed that, Los Banos had a chance to, we're always picked 3rd if you looked at the preseason pickings, and that's understandable. Last year we were 5-5. But all year long we just kept preaching to our kids, just believe in what we're telling you, believe in what we're doing, and that was my biggest sell pitch all week long was just believe. And we just, the kids believed, they just bought into what we were preaching. I mean, we got down by 7 points. We fumbled on our own 5, and our kids could have quit. but the belief that they had a chance of winning the football game and they believed that they were going to get it done, I think caused them to get over the hump. So the underdog role is always great, especially in high school sports. It's huge. Anything can happen.
Some big plays. Talk about the big plays by your quarterback, Adam Herrera, and David Walker, other than just the punt return.
Adam is never, growing into the quarterback position. Not a quarterback by trade. Never played quarterback, I don't think, maybe since Pop Warner. But he's got a grasp of what we're trying to do out of the spread offense. And when you got a guy like him that, against a Patterson team that has team speed that I've never seen as much team speed, that, he runs a 69-yard touchdown. He has a 79-yard touchdown. He has a few, 20, 30-yard runs in there. I mean, the guy had 18 carries for 179 yards as a quarterback. He's a special player, and I'm glad I'm glad number 2's on our sideline. Talking about David Walker, I mean, what do you say? I mean, the guy has the punt return to end the game to put us in overtime, but before that, he has a blocked field goal for a scoop and score. He strips the quarterback where Anthony Machado picks it in and runs it in for a touchdown. So, I mean, having those two guys as well as our defense playing well and our offense playing well, and the kids just buying into what we're preaching makes it so much more enjoyable.
Watching Twitter right after the game, all of a sudden the focus was quickly on the last game against Pacheco, the crosstown clash. How do you guard against that with your players looking that far ahead?
That's been a concern of mine after winning Friday night, having our coaches meeting yesterday, is we just need to really keep our kids at task at hand and just explain to them that the most important game is the game we're playing this Friday, and taking care of business there and then move on to the next game. And with high school kids, that's a task, especially when they know what they got going on. They know that if they win out, then they're playing against Pacheco possibly for the WAC championship. It's great for the town of Los Banos. It's great for both programs, but we also got to make sure we don't, slip up against a good Livingston team and a good Central Valley team next week during homecoming. So it's a tough one. It'll be some serious coaching going on this week. We can't let them lose the focus.
All right. Well, thanks, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this week's action. We're just going to break it down by conference, basically. We'll start with the Southern League. You got two interesting matchups, two big matchups here. Gustine going to Mariposa. Gustine's been showing well, but obviously Mariposa's been the favorite the whole time, and they've done nothing to lead you to believe otherwise to this point. So where are you going here?
I like the fact that Mariposa's at home here. Gustine's got to make that long trip. But you look at the Gustine when they played LeGrand, they jumped out to a 19-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, LeGrand had to score the final 22 points to win that. So there's no question that the Redskins aren't legit here. But I'm just going to go with Mariposa in a close battle.
Yeah, I think Mariposa's got the home advantage, as you said, and they got the experience. And Aaron Lerma at quarterback and Kamari Bailey, both are having really big seasons and really kicked it up a notch once they got into the Southern League. So I will give Mariposa the nod, but I think it's going to be a close ball game. I think it's going to be right down to the wire.
LeGrand's at home this week against Oristimba. Oristimba's coming in at 2-2 in league. LeGrand at 4-0. The Bulldogs got Carlos Niguez back last week, and he had a big game. Returned a kickoff 90 yards for a touchdown. I think he also scored on the ground. Christian Williams caught 2 touchdowns from Frankie Contreras. The Bulldogs are kind of rolling right now.
Yeah, I think as long as you have that combo going, they're going to be tough to beat, and you still got to see them as the favorites.
Yeah, you can't key on one. It's funny, the game I covered against Ripon Christian was yelling out wherever Christian Williams was. They wanted to make sure that everybody knew. Having what Carlos Niguez brings to the team, it hurts, or it makes it harder just to concentrate on Christian, because you got to stop that run game. Otherwise, LeGrand will just keep feeding him the ball, and he'll get yards after yards and move the chains that way.
He's a little bowling ball of a back. He does not look like he'd be fun to tackle. He's got a nice low center of gravity, and he really gets his pad level low. And the kid was just a sophomore coming into the season, so I mean, it took a little while for him and the offensive line to mesh, but it really seems like they're clicking now.
All right, let's move to the WAC big showdown in Los Banos with Pacheco at 6-2, 4-0 in league, hosting Patterson at 5-2 and 2-1 in league.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the two best sets of athletes in the WAC. Yeah, despite Los Banos' victory, obviously over Patterson last week, Patterson still has some amazing studs. So I think if Pacheco can limit the big plays, because I mean that's really where Patterson's been hurting people, is with the big plays. They haven't had too many sustained drives that you hear about. So Pacheco can do what they do on the ground and then limit the big plays from Damian Paolo and his weapons. I think Pacheco's going to win this one.
Yeah, I like Pacheco's defense. I think they've got the best defense in the WAC. They're holding teams down, making it tough to score, especially with Frank Ginda at linebacker. And they're able to do a lot. They got a lot of playmakers on offense, so I think they're kind of got the best balance both ways. I like Pacheco at home in that matchup. Another big matchup in the WAC, Livingston at home. They're now 2-2, hosting Los Banos. Kind of a good time, I think, to get Los Banos off the big win.
The same thing, yeah.
You know Los Banos, as much as Dustin Caropreso wants to talk about them not looking ahead to Pacheco that final week. It's tough for high school kids to kind of gear up after an emotional win like that and get refocused for this week. And Livingston, their back's against the wall. They need one more win to secure a playoff spot.
You don't want to have it come down to Patterson on the road the final week of the season. So I see this as a must-win for Livingston. You got them at home. Like you said, they're coming off a big win. The thing for Livingston is I think they're starting to get beat up a little bit, and they're kind of limping to the finish line here. I think it showed against Central Valley last week. They're missing some defensive components. They've gotten injured, and I think they're starting to wear down, and their depth is really being tested. I don't know that they can hang with Los Banos' athletes.
Yeah, saying that they caught it on the good time. I'm still going to pick Los Banos here. Just the way David Walker's making plays, I think Adam Herrera is doing some nice things at the quarterback spot. I think they're going to be able to put enough points on to hold off Livingston in that matchup.
I think this is going to be a good game, though, with Livingston's desperation coming in. I think they're going to play them right down to the finish.
All right, let's go to the CCC. You got Merced traveling to Atwater to face Buhack Colony. What's the scenario here that you see a Buhack Colony win?
They got to hold on to the ball. They got to take advantage of the big plays that Merced's defense will yield. I mean, we've seen it time and again. That
we haven't really seen it the last couple of weeks, but early on in the season,
yeah. And I think they need to be not afraid to throw the ball. The last two times that I've seen Buhack play, Duran in the passing game have looked pretty good. He's thrown for over 200 yards in each of them, and it's opened things up. I don't think that their fly game has been the same this year as it has in years past. It's not been quite as effective, and I think people are starting to really load the box and concentrate on taking away Justin Stephanie.
Yeah, I think they got to set up. I think they got to do a lot of play action here with Stephanie and go to Keon Newsom. Who had a nice game.
I'm not entirely. I didn't get to talk to anybody after the game because the game took so long. I had to sprint to my car and start writing my story. But I'm pretty sure that was Keon Newsom's first performance of the season, first time getting out on the field. We remember him from Livingston, big body, good hands. He gives them something in the passing game that they have not really had, and a nice compliment to Andre Sherman and Darius Mack. All of a sudden, you got three receivers that you legitimately have to pay attention to.
Yeah, all that being said, I just think Merced's on a roll.
Right.
And, I just don't see anybody in the CCC knocking them off, so I think the Bears are a big favorite here.
No, I got to agree. Buhack's defense just hasn't been consistently stopping teams, with good athletes, and, it's burned them 2 out of the last 3 weeks.
Looking at the other matchups, I think, Pittman rolls against Golden Valley. Atwater Turlock, do you give the Falcons a shot in that game? You've seen both those teams?
Like I said, Turlock's going to give up some points, so I'll give him a shot there. But I'm pretty impressed with Bubba Moreno and company. He's got a really good receiver, and Bear Padilla, I think he's listed as a tight end, but he's got receiver skills. They got 2 good running backs. I think offensively it's going to be tough for Atwater to hang in that game despite how good the defense has been for them.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our show this week. We hope you enjoy the games.